welcome viewers to the next episode of Marketing in the Never Normal, where we talk to marketing leaders from different industries to understand how the current pandemic has disrupted their industries and how marketing is playing a role in this new normal. Today we have with us Piali Dasgupta. She's Vice President Marketing for Columbia Pacific Communities, a leader in senior living communities in India. Welcome, Piali.
Thank you so much, Karthik, for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure. So clearly, the current COVID situation has disrupted many industries. So, what's been some of the challenges which a senior community living operator like yours has faced, or as a sector, what are the challenges which they've been going through, and what do you see some of those challenges continue in the near term as well?
I think, from a senior living perspective, the first and major challenge has been to ensure that our communities are 100% COVID free,
Hmm.
because one has to remember that we are catering to an audience that is the most vulnerable as far as the virus is concerned. Senior citizens are obviously more susceptible, and for various reasons, low immunity and so on.
Hmm.
But the idea therefore is to really, at least in the last 3 to 4 months, has been to focus all our energies on ensuring at a very ground level how do we ensure that our communities are COVID free. So various measures have been taken, various protocols are still in place and will continue to be in place to ensure that it's a zero risk kind of environment and it's completely protected, and there are seniors are feeling cared for, they're well taken care of, and the impact of the lockdown,
Hmm.
both in terms of let's say mental agony as well as various kinds of other challenges that it places in front of seniors is minimized, right?
Okay.
And I think what has been our primary sort of mission in the last 4 months has been to ensure that while they're all physically distanced, of course, and by that I don't just mean from each other in a community, but also from their loved ones, from their children who are perhaps not even in the country. We've tried to ensure that they are emotionally not distanced.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
something that we've tried to ensure, because that we feel really plays havoc.
Hmm.
So we've done various things. Obviously, use technology as an enabler. Or obviously, use technology to create platforms that bring people together,
Hmm.
and done various engagement led campaigns and initiatives to ensure that they're not feeling completely overwhelmed by the situation that is prevalent.
Okay, that's interesting because as a target audience, these are the most vulnerable people according to even the guidelines that have been released, and
Absolutely,
hence it
yeah,
would be putting
yeah,
a lot more pressure on ensuring that they're kept safe during these times. So,
absolutely.
as an organization, how have you guys looked at either maintaining your competitive advantage or kind of pivoting in these stages to continue maintaining your advantage, considering you're a leader in this space?
So our competitive advantage has always been, our brand credo, which is positive aging, and the idea of that we're trying to popularize here in India.
Hmm.
And we have ensured, well, not just in the last 4 months, but since the time that we've been operational through various activities, through various brand initiatives, we've ensured that we keep strengthening the positioning that we've built for ourselves. Um, Specifically for the last 4 months, what we have done is run a gamut of activities online,
Hmm.
and do campaigns that are narrative based, to ensure that our seniors are meaningfully engaged.
Hmm.
And the reason why I use the word meaningfully engaged is because that's not easy to do. It's not just about engaging them, but it's about ensuring that they find meaning in that.
Hmm.
So for example, one of the initiatives that we took was to introduce something called the living room, which
Hmm.
is basically a Facebook live platform, well, a Facebook live show where we invite, celebrities, experts, luminaries from across the, across the country and from various walks of life to actually interact live with our audience, right? So we've had people like Nandita Das, we've had people like Kabir Bedi, Charu Sharma, Prahlad Kakkar, Vasundhara Das, Prakash Bilavari very recently. We've had top chefs, we've had doctors, we've had, psychiatrists, we've had, artists, painters. So we've had a whole, bunch of people that have been very kind to spare time and to, do these live sessions with us every week. We try and schedule this either on Thursdays or Fridays, and this is one of the things that we do to ensure that seniors have something to look forward to. They don't have to step out. It's on their Facebook. Most seniors we have seen are quite active on Facebook as a platform, and that's really why we chose that as a platform. And it is basically, and we call it living room because it's literally like bringing these people over to your living room without you having to step out, and having a very real conversation, because it's a real time conversation. You can actually interact with them, right? So that's one of the things that we did. We also immediately after the lockdown was announced, like within days after the lockdown was announced, we started something called a Positive Lockdown, which was a 19-day campaign that I think reached out to about a good 3 million people, which basically over 19 days gave you an activity calendar of sorts, and told seniors all the things that they could do during the lockdown phase in order to be meaningfully engaged, to make the best use of the lockdown phase, because it's not easy for people to kind of be cooped inside the four walls of your house
True.
for extended periods of time. And imagine if we are feeling so overwhelmed by it, and we still can step out and we still can get our essentials. But for seniors, the general mandate is for them to not step out
Yeah.
at all. And that's really what we have ensured at the communities, because everything is being brought to their doorsteps. Even ATM machines and vegetable vendors, or even a barber has been brought to their doorstep during the lockdown period. That's how well they've been taken care of, and we're very proud of how we've managed the whole situation. We've got a lot of praises, complimentary feedback from all our residents. But at the same time, one has to understand that it's not easy for them to be in a situation like this,
Yeah.
particularly when they're away from people that they love. So we've ensured that we do these various things to kind of keep them engaged. We also have very recently, in fact, this Saturday, we launched a virtual talent hunt initiative in the run up to World Senior Citizens Day, which is on the 21st of August. And this is going to be a 1 month talent hunt, because there are some absolutely incredibly talented people in our communities. These are home to people that have led very rich, very inspiring lives. And they're all extremely talented. I mean, we have dancers, singers, actors, poets, scientists, you name it, right? And this was created with the idea of giving them a platform to showcase their talent, and helping them reconnect with all their old hobbies and passions that they would have probably had almost forgotten about, and now is the time to kind of go back to that, because they have that time.
Yeah.
Right. So in fact, Dr. Kiran Bedi, who is actually part of our community as well. She was very kind to address the gathering on a Zoom call as part of the inauguration ceremony that we had on Saturday. And she spoke about the healing, effects of, performing arts, and how this was such a great initiative. So there are various such things that we've done as an organization to ensure that they are meaningfully engaged.
That's very interesting. Very interesting the way they've been meaningfully engaged. So, in the current scheme of things, I'm sure a lot of the marketing lessons which we would have learned as marketers over the years have all been thrown out of the window, right? It is like they say, it's unprecedented time. So, what worked before may not actually work the way it used to. So, what are some of the lessons which you've kind of experienced during this current period, which you would like to share with marketing peers or budding marketing professionals?
That's a great question, Karthik, and I think I've said quite a bit about that as well, and I continue to maintain that the idea right now, and I sort of sum it up in three words. I say that, help, don't sell, right? Uh, Now is the time to help your
Mm,
consumers. This is not the time to sell and make sales pitches, and try to exploit the current situation, to, let's say, create an offer out of it or things like
mm,
that.
mm,
This is not that time, right?
mm,
There will be time for that. It will come to us. And as marketers, of course, the responsibility is to, to be revenue focused, right? To earn revenue for the company. That is, the primary responsibility of marketing as a function, and there
mm,
is no running away from it. But at the same time, we also have to be cognizant of the situation that we are in. It
mm,
is, like you said, unprecedented. It is a black swan event. It is something that we have never seen before in our lives. It is
mm.
something that the senior citizens have never seen before in their
Yeah,
lives. Our parents' generation have also not seen before in their
true.
lives, and they have seen quite a lot. So the idea is to be extremely sensitive of what is being produced from the brand's end, whether
Mm,
it's communication, whether it's the way you are communicating with your end users on various platforms,
mm,
um, whether it's narrative storytelling. Every piece of communication that you're putting out needs to be looked at, relooked at, evaluated, and really thought through.
mm.
And it can get exhausting for sure, because one is not used to that level of introspection in that
Yes.
sense. But
Mm,
one has to do that because this is not a time to be tone deaf. This is not a time to be cloth-eared. You've got to be sensitive to the environment, and you've got to tailor make your communication to suit the sentiments that are currently prevailing. And towards that, my advice would be to not go dark, right? My
mm,
advice would be to not completely kind of pull the plug on communication, because you want to save marketing dollars.
mm,
Of course, one has to be very careful with marketing spends at a time like this, when there have been budget cuts across the globe. And obviously marketing is affected very badly
mm,
in every organization, and that is no secret. But at the same time, this is not a time to go dark. This is the
mm,
time to have meaningful conversations with your customers. And if you are able to build a great relationship today, then
mm,
you will earn their loyalty for the rest of your lives.
mm,
That's assured. But today is a time to be empathetic, to be
mm.
positive, to give them hope, and to give them that sort of rare kind of glimmer of sunshine that I think is needed, because the world is engulfed in gloom, and
Yeah.
all that we are surrounded by is just tremendous amount of bad news.
Mm,
And you just
mm.
have to open the newspaper, and you just have to open your phone, and it's just an avalanche of bad news.
True.
How do you then, as a brand, give them hope, right?
True.
To me, I think that's what is important today, and that's what my advice would be to young marketers. Yeah.
That's true. So from what I hear, the kind of initiatives that you've taken up at your organization to keep your senior citizens meaningfully engaged. So what do you see will be the role of content and digital mediums going forward? You have used few of them yourself successfully right now. So what do you see the role of these two playing with respect to engaging your customers even post this current situation?
Well, content was always king. To me, as a marketer, I think it it's just so crucial as a component.
Mm,
And we as an organization, from day one, we've been content first. That's been
mm,
our approach to marketing, because as a category, this category requires a lot of narratives. This category requires a lot of very high levels of empathy,
mm,
and I think a very compelling narrative around the category can only be built through cutting edge content is
mm,
what my belief is, right?
mm,
So it's not as if content has suddenly become important, right? It was always important.
mm,
um, but I think with regards to the current situation, I think content can play a massively crucial role in, like I said earlier, in giving hope, right?
mm,
In taking forward brand narratives in a very very engaging, meaningful way, if done correctly. And these could actually become examples and
mm,
almost case studies of how brands have handled unprecedented times
mm,
from a marketing point of view, and used content effectively to their benefit, right? I think as far as digital platforms are concerned, it is no secret that a lot of marketing spends have now been diverted to digital.
mm,
Considering, let's say channels like out of home, for example, are um, it doesn't make sense to do it right now with the
mm,
current scenario. So a lot of OOH spends have been diverted to digital, for example. A lot of print spends have been
mm,
diverted to digital. So digital, and I think this is something that's been said a lot, that Corona has actually been the real catalyst to digital transformation in this
mm,
country, right? I mean, we were speaking about digital transformation for the last 10 years, but it took a virus to kind of bring in
yeah,
real digital transformation, and that's so true. And I don't think anyone understands that more than marketers. And
mm,
I think, with digital, I think the great advantage is that you are able to reach out to the audience that you want to, right? It helps you narrowcast, and it helps you sort of reach out to the audience that is tailor made for your brand, right?
mm,
Which other channels may not always. And the idea is to therefore look at each platform and look at how content can also leverage, key features of each platform, and really deliver to brand KPIs, right?
mm,
But at
mm,
the same time, content also needs to be objective led, is what I believe. It's not content for the sake of content. I don't believe in that kind of
mm,
approach today, particularly now with marketing budget cuts and with more focus on, let's say, ROI driven market. I think content needs to deliver objectives,
mm,
and those objectives need to be very very clearly set
mm,
amongst all stakeholders, right? And it could very well be just audience engagement,
mm.
but at the same time it needs to somewhere be tied back to business deliverables, and that's, I think, the role that content needs to play. So
True.
it's no longer kind of vanity content, is what I
Mm,
like to call it. It's
mm.
no longer, I mean, we are way past that age of vanity content.
That's so nicely put. So lastly, I know you mentioned we are right now surrounded by a lot of negative news everywhere, right? So staying hopeful and having that hope is very crucial in these times. So any book that you've read during these current times, or something that you've read earlier, which you find is a lot more relevant to keep that positivity going or building resilience, that you would like to recommend?
Well, so in fact, I just wrote the other day, put out a post on Facebook saying that in the last 4 months, I've actually completed reading 20 books,
Wow.
which I have to say I'm quite happy about, because this is not something that I've achieved earlier, and I think it took a pandemic and a lockdown for me to actually be able to do that. And obviously, there have been many books that have really made a mark, etc. But I think uh, one of the books that sort of stood out is a book called The Art of Thinking Clearly, and it's by
Mhm.
Rolf Dobelli. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people have heard about it as
Yeah.
already. And I think that today, with what's going on in the world, I think what we really need to do is to think clearly, and I think
Yeah.
that's becoming so difficult because, we're just constantly sort of surrounded by so many biases and preconceived notions that often our thinking can get clouded. And
True.
especially when you're dealing with a situation which is so sort of abnormal in many ways, I think thinking clearly becomes very difficult and challenging. And I think a book like that, well, I won't claim that after reading the book I've become a very sharp thinker, but it does help you identify many inherent biases that we sort of have, So I think that's one book that I definitely sort of recommend. It's a good read.
Okay. Okay. So thanks, Piali. I had a wonderful conversation, very interesting insights into the senior living communities and how it's about keeping them meaningfully engaged. Some very interesting initiatives that you've taken up, and then finally building that hope, not just with vanity content, but content which actually makes is a lot more meaningful. I think that was really wonderful. Thanks a lot for your time once again, and look forward to collaborating with you again.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Thanks. I've really enjoyed this chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.